Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books, what a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together, what a yummy snack.
Good morning or good afternoon, evening, whenever it is that you are joining us. We have a little time difference. Jeanette is in Central Time and I'm in Eastern Time, but it's evening now for both of us. So whenever you're joining us, we are super glad that you are here. And I'm here for this episode, which is going to be a little different from our typical PBJamz. I'm here with Jeanette Stilt Shorey, and she runs a Facebook group and she has a brand new podcast. I say brand new. Is it super new?
It's actually almost a year old.
Okay. Wow. Wow, I didn't realize that long. But so a lovely music teacher podcast as well. And she's going to tell us all the deets about all of that. So welcome, Jeanette, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you.
Yeah. So I encountered Jeanette on Facebook as I was looking for music resources and people to connect with on there. And I ran across her music teacher group. And so I've been a part of that for quite some time. Lots of great resources and just people that are in the music teacher trenches, kind of doing it together and sharing and giving each other resources and feedback. And so it's been really lovely and helpful. So I want to start out though talking about picture books. And so why do you think, Jeanette, because I know you use a lot of picture books and a lot of the lessons that you offer through your Teachers Pay Teachers and through your Facebook group and all the other areas that you share things, you have a lot of lessons that focus in on picture books, and a lot of them do have musical connections, obviously. So why do you think it's important for teachers in the music classroom and maybe in the regular classroom to use picture books?
Well, I think that picture books are one of the best ways to capture your students' attention. And I think everywhere, everyone is looking to, find ways to, really hone in and capture students' attention, because it's getting harder and harder to do that, right? And so there is something about a child being read to, even fifth graders. Like, you pull out that book and you start reading, and they are just transported into, I don't know, a different mindset. I mean, you watch their faces and it's just like, oh my gosh, they're just so excited. And especially, I love to use, lots of funny voices, and I do lots of crazy things in my storybook lessons. So it really keeps their attention. And once they know that, I'm going to do that kind of stuff, then they're like extra focused. So for music teachers, we are responsible for every single student in the school most of the time. And we are part of a team. We're not like, even though it feels like we're out there on Music Teacher Island, we're really not. We're kind of part of a team of teachers who, we can teach life skills, and we can teach literacy skills and math skills and all of the things. And we can come at it from such a different way, because whether we like it or not, our students think our class is fun. And honestly, I feel like it should be. I mean, it's one of the areas of school where like they can actually have fun and let loose a little bit, and they don't even realize they're learning, So
Right.
I can get beyond, like, or any music teacher can get beyond that roadblock that a kid will have where they're like, I can't read, or I don't know how to read, or I hate reading. And all of a sudden, I've reached them in a way that's very organic, but also is very much like, they don't realize they're learning. They're just listening to the story and they're having fun, but I'm working on all these literacy skills at the same time I'm teaching them music skills. So it's kind of a win-win.
Yes, yes, I love that. I was just talking with my kids this week. I've been using picture book biographies this year, and I have a different theme every year. So this year I've been doing picture book biographies to introduce them to musical superheroes. And so this week we've been doing Rosetta Tharpe with Little Rosetta and the Talking Guitar. And so I've been reading that book to them, and we've been talking about practice skills and how much she practiced and she practiced. And I was like, okay, so give me some text evidence. I read these pages to them. Give me some text evidence, which is a fabulous literacy skill, that they're having to do for their assessments and to move on to grade, the grades above. So yeah, it's a great way to kind of sneak in those literacy skills. And yeah, you're right about the attention and grabbing that. That's picture books do that marvelously. Yeah. So talk to us about some of your favorite picture books to use in the music classroom and how you incorporate those.
That is really hard.
I know, I'm sorry.
If you could, no, it's fine. If you could see like the collection of picture books, but I brought out a couple that I really love that are actually, two of them are part of my new resource book, which is called Stories That Sing Too. And it's a whole collection of lesson plans on storybook lessons. So one of them is called Tiger Can't Sleep. And this is all about a little tiger who he sleeps in the closet, and there's all kinds of stuff in the closet, and he makes all this noise. And then his boy can't sleep, his boy who owns him. He's a stuffed tiger. But I do this little voice with him, and I love to use this for loud and soft, mostly loud, because there are places where tiger is soft, but also one of the things I look for, and I'm sure we'll talk about that more, is sound words. So we have things like crunch, 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 and we have bounce, bounce, bounce.
Oh, yeah.
And so that could be a movement or a sound word. And then we have kerthump, kerthump. So I like to take instruments and put the instruments with the sound words so that the kids get a real experience. So first of all, I'm getting to teach how to play that instrument, and then I'm getting to teach how to play it loud or soft. We're getting to talk about loud and soft. We're getting to hear it. We're getting to see, because you see the words are giant,
Right.
So, and they've got exclamation points. So we can talk about how we read them loudly, and we can play them loudly. We can say them loudly. And I allow my students we do like an echo, and we'll do what we call our indoor shouting voice. So it's not a scream like if we're outdoors, but it's like an indoor shouting voice. So they get to sort of shout in the music room, which they love.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's one of them. And then this one is called Doggone Dogs, and I love the illustrations. This is one of my favorite author illustrators. So it's Karen Beaumont and David Catro, or Catro, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but this is all about these dogs who, there are like 10 of them, and the owner loses track of them and they run out the door, and there's running, and then there's leaping and jumping. And we get to talk about vocabulary, because there's like all these different words for jumping. Mostly they run, but there's leap and jump and all these different words. So what I like to do with this one is we talk about mallet skills, and I do my ORF instruments, and I set my kiddos, we read the book first, and then I set my kiddos up behind the ORF instruments, and we do hands together, or we do alternating hands. And I'll do a little bit of running for the students, and I'll say to them, are my feet working together, or are they taking turns? And then I'll do some jumping, very careful jumping,
Yes.
for my knees. And then I'll talk about how, are my feet working together, or are they working separately? And then we can talk about how our mallets can run, or our mallets can jump. And as we're reading through the story a second time, every time the dogs are running, they use alternating hands, and every time they're jumping, they use hands together. So we're working on vocabulary, but we're also working on some mallet skills. So those are two great ones. And then I just started a storybook club. And in your storybook club, you get a lesson plan a PowerPoint presentation, a video tutorial. It's a really nice comprehensive monthly membership called the Storybook Spotlight Club. And this is the storybook that we did this month. And it's called The Snowman. And if you've ever seen the movie The Snowman, this is based on the movie. And this one is all about up and down and a little bit loud and soft. What I love about this one is it's only illustrations. So what I like to do is we read through and we write down some of the words that we think of from the illustrations together as a class. And so then you're working on vocabulary in a whole new way because they're having to think about and come up with those words. And then we talk about what we can do with them. And I try to guide, if I'm using little ones, or if I'm doing this with the little ones, I try to guide them where, okay, what is he doing here? Is he doing something where he's going up? Is he flying, etc.? And then once we've written down our words, then we read through the story again and we do some improvisation on the Orff instrument. So those are three of my favorites, but literally I could go on for like an hour and a half. These are my other favorites.
I know it's hard to narrow them down. I get that. Yes, for sure. So to help a couple of groups, so we were talking about how PBJamz kind of has different audiences. So for the authors in the group, as well as for, well, really all the teachers, music teachers and classroom teachers, talk about what you look for in a picture book to decide if it's one that you want to feature in your classroom or not.
So I always look for vivid illustrations. And if you look at this book, I mean, like, so colorful, so amazing. The dogs are all kind of silly looking. Anything that's silly is going to be a real, attention getter. So vivid illustrations. I love to look for things with a message. So things that are going to teach them something, that are going to pull at their heartstrings, that sort of thing. I like repeating patterns because there's one that I have that's called Wet Dog, and he says pat a pat, pat a pat, pat, and then he says shaky shake, shaky shake, shake. So I can add some rhythm into that because there's those repeating patterns.
Yes.
I look for sound words like we talked about. I look for movement words, running, jumping, leaping, climbing. Those are all good movement words, but they also will work to, like, once you've done the movement, then you can extend and do some instrument play from there. What else? I love anything that rhymes because if it rhymes, it has a steady beat, it's fluid motion, it's fluid sound, and I like to add music to that. So we may play while I'm reading, like we may all play on the same two notes, or we may play our drums while I'm reading, or I may put some music on that works really nicely and read the rhyming book that way. Rhyming, I know, tends to be kind of a hard thing to write if it's not something that comes naturally to you, but definitely anything that rhymes is really good. Movement words, sound words, repeating patterns. I think those are the ones.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so helpful for teachers to know what to look for, and also for us as authors to know what kind of things do we need to be putting into our books so that they are more useful for teachers in their classrooms. So talk to us a little bit about your Facebook group and the podcast and the Storybook Club, because you have several things going on. So just dig in and tell us about all the fun things that you're doing with music in classrooms.
Cool. Yeah. So my Facebook group is a free group. It is for anyone who, I've got sort of two audiences, if you will. I've got the storybook people who are really in that group to learn more about how to add storybooks to the music classroom. But it really would be beneficial the other way around, because most of my books have a literacy element as well. So, so that's really good. I also put out a lot of tips on my other audience is the happy music teacher. And I've been realizing more and more that so many teachers are not happy in their job, not just music teachers, but teachers in general. Excuse me. And so what I'm trying to do is give tips and tricks and suggestions and mindset shifts and that sort of thing that are going to help people to enjoy their jobs more. So those are kind of my two different areas there. The Storybook Club is something brand new. I just started it this month and I'm really excited about it because I'm excited to share more storybook lessons. And what I've discovered is that I wanted to teach people how to write storybook lessons. And most people are like, no, please just give me the lesson plan because I don't have time to learn something new.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I'm doing is every month is going to be a different theme. Obviously, this month is snowmen and snow and winter and that sort of thing. And next month is probably, I haven't decided yet, but probably going to be something about Valentine's Day. So I'm going to take a different storybook every month. I develop a lesson plan, which I'm doing anyway, or maybe I already have it.
Right.
And I develop a PowerPoint and you get both of those. And then you get a video tutorial that walks you through step by step exactly how to teach the lesson. And then at the end of the month, there's a Q&A, and it is $9 a month. It is like super inexpensive. And lots of great stuff in there. I am trying to put like as much value as I can into these lesson plans. The one for the snowman has like links to videos and all kinds of good stuff. So that is awesome. The other thing that I have is the Happy Music Teacher Academy. And in there, I have professional development for music teachers. I've got 2 courses on how to use storybooks to teach music skills. I've got a course on how to play the ukulele and how to teach the ukulele, lots of good tips on the best ways to reach your students. And then I have a new course coming out, which is called Chaos to Calm, a step-by-step guide to running your classroom with success. And that's going to be more along the lines of mindset shift and just the way to set up your classroom for success, how to add things into your lesson plans that are going to make it so that you really don't even have to manage behavior, how to manage behavior in a positive way. So just kind of a step-by-step guide to give you all the tools you need to really feel peace, harmony, and joy in your classroom, because I truly love what I do. And I know a lot of people say that, but I leave class, I leave every day feeling like a rock star. I really do. And that's how I want all music teachers to feel. And then the last thing is I've got one resource book called Stories That Sing. And I have another one that should be coming out literally any minute. Like I've got the downloadable already, but I'll have links to it and it will be live in the music teacher conferences probably not next week, but the week after. So that one's called Stories That Sing 2, TOO. So
Love it. Love it. Yeah. And so the podcast, is that available on all?
Oh, yes. Sorry, the podcast.
Oh,
So
it's
the
good.
Happy Music Teacher podcast, that's kind of a combo because I love my storybook lessons. So usually either the last week of the month or the first week of the new month, I put out an episode where I talk about all the really good storybooks that I'm going to be using that month and kind of how I use them. And then sometimes I'll have an interview. I've got an interview that just came out yesterday, actually today, because today's Wednesday, with Debbie Tannenbaum, and she is a tech expert. So it's all about, music teacher hacks to add more technology to your classroom. Sometimes I'll have an author interview in there. I have lots of tips. One time I did an episode called Don't Let Guilt Be Your Guide, because sometimes we teachers, like all teachers, feel really guilty if we're not pouring every single solitary drop of ourselves in. And then we end up like coming home and we have nothing left for ourselves and our families. So, some of it's mindset shift. I mean, there's just I'll go on Facebook and be like, okay, what are people challenged with this week? What can I help them with? So that's that is my pride and joy right now, is that podcast, because I just feel like I'm helping people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we do what we do, right? Both as
Exactly.
teachers and as these resource givers and, contributors to the larger audience. That's what we want to be able to do, is to be helpful. Yeah.
Exactly.
So again, the podcast is available on like Spotify and all the networks.
All the platforms. It's available on Apple, Spotify, Google. If you want to get an actual link to it, it's storiesthatsing.net/podcast, and that will get you to the actual where the podcast lives. But then you can click and go to your favorite platform to listen.
Okay. Excellent. And I will link up all the links below that Jeanette's talking about, as far as the Facebook group, and which is a private group, right? They have to
It is private,
answer
yes.
some questions, I think, to gain membership to that. Yes. So, but I'll link all that up below. So make sure you check that out. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you go to the blog to check out all the resources. I will link up some of the materials that Jeanette's talking about, the books that she's mentioned, her website and her socials, and all of that will be down below. So make sure you check that out. So why and how did you begin? So again, the Facebook group is how I came across you. So why and how did you get that started?
I went through a long period of time where my job was a job. It was not a career. And I didn't like it. And I couldn't wait to get out. And I felt very trapped and very like, I can't do this and I'm not good at it. And one day I'm a happy person. I like to be happy. And walking into a job every day and leaving a job every day that I was like, I don't like this. It just wasn't working for me. So I started doing a lot of learning, and I really reframed my mindset. That's kind of where things began, where I just was like, you know what? If I'm going to be a music teacher, and I got my master's, and I got in literacy. I have a master's in elementary ed with a specialization in literacy. And then I got my national board certification, and lots and lots and lots of work for both of those. But from those areas, I really started thinking of this more as a career rather than just a job that I was doing. And it sort of gave me this renewed passion. And when I'm feeling kind of which I don't do much anymore because of the way I teach, when I am, I'll hook up with a professional development somewhere. I'll go to a workshop, or I'll, because you always get sort of re-energized when you go to those things.
Yeah.
So I really, once I kind of reframed my mindset and I let go of a lot of the perfectionist tendencies that musicians have, and I sort of let go of I was like, I'm not going to be able to get everything done in my day, in my week. I see my kids 30 minutes once a week. I mean, I'm cramming as much as I can into them, but I just had to let go of some of that. And I'm an older person. I'm pushing 60 at this point, not quite there, but I'm really at a point where I've learned that some of that stuff you just have to let it go. Like, you can't be changing out your bulletin board every month and putting on new door decorations and decorating your own Christmas tree. And, I mean, these are things that Are they wonderful? Yes, if you have the time, but it's more important to have creativity and have, have a brain about you when you're teaching than it is to make sure everything looks perfect and all the lesson plans are perfect. I mean, you know, so I kind of let go a lot of that. And then I started looking at other people and going, they need help because they need somebody to tell them it's okay to take a mental health day when you need one. It's okay if you're sick to take a sick day. Your kids are not going to shrivel up and die because you're not there one day. You're not that important. I'm not that important. So, I just feel like people need that. So many teachers are at risk of burnout, and some of it is just the nature of the beast,
Yeah.
but some of it is really self-inflicted, you know?
Yeah, we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves. I mean, I think teachers in general, not just music teachers, but I see that really across the board and have my entire career. Like you, I'm pushing 60, and I think some of this is just wisdom that comes with age, and experience that just says, I'm not, I mean, when I was in the regular classroom, I don't think I ever sat down and just watched a movie or a TV program without tons of schoolwork in front of me, And I just declared when I went to the music room that I was not living my life that way anymore. You need a life. You need some other things besides school in your, but yes, you need to make that time count. But those things like you're talking about, the bulletin boards, and I mean they're beautiful and they're fun, and it is nice to do those sometimes because it's a different kind of creativity that we get
Mhm.
to enjoy. And so for sure, if you enjoy that, do that, but don't be held captive. I think about my family's been through a lot of transition in the last couple of years. We lost my mom 3 years ago, and when you lose a key person in your family, you start rethinking a lot of your tradition. I mean, some of them change just naturally. But we've really kind of gone through this process with our traditions of which ones do we keep and which ones do we let go. And my opinion is that if they don't serve you, traditions are supposed to serve us. The
Yes,
bulletin boards and all the fun things, they're meant to serve you and your students. And if they're not serving you, if you're held captive to them, then that is not something to give your time to, right? And we've done
right,
that with our traditions. We've said, okay, which ones are still serving us and which ones do we just need to let go because they just feel like it's more of a burden than a lovely tradition to draw us together and help us be family together. And the
right.
same thing for the bulletin boards and the fun, you know, extras, those extras that we like. I mean, I see music teachers all the time that are doing these lovely programs and they have all these decorations and they're like doing these huge set designs for these. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
No,
My kids get on a stage and it is not decorated, and I don't have the time, I mean, I'm doing well to get them prepared for the program. That's my job, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so I'm just not doing that. It's an extra, and it's not serving me or my students for me to take that on. And there's nobody else. If there was a partner that if you could partner with the art department, and I did do that early on. I had a great art teacher that was wonderful, and we had some beautiful little additions to our programs that couple of years. But then she transitioned, somebody else transitioned in that just wasn't so keen on doing that. And
Right,
so that went away, and that's
right.
okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you were saying, if you're held captive, if you're trapped by these traditions that you've put onto yourself, then, if they're not bringing you joy, then don't do them. I mean,
Right.
obviously, if they're going to impact student learning in a negative way, not to do them, then absolutely you have to find the time to do them. But if it's more about being that perfect music teacher and making sure everything looks just so, I mean, it's not worth your mental health. It's not worth your physical health to burn the candle at both ends and burn yourself out physically and mentally. And you know, that's one of the things that's one of my soapboxes that I get up on, you know. And one of the other things that I like to do is give people strategies. Okay, so if you want your stage to look beautiful, how can you make that happen without doing it yourself? Are there parents? Are there high schoolers looking for volunteer hours? Are, you know, I mean, there are so many options for help. Is there a staff member who maybe loves to do that kind of thing? You don't know till you ask, you
That's
know?
true. Yeah, that's exactly right. So if you do want to do that, then yeah, reach out and see who can come alongside you or who can take that on. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that, that teamwork aspect, and you're right, oftentimes I think, especially as music teachers or specials or encore, whatever you're called at your location, because we have lots of names and some of them are not always nice, but but sometimes we do feel like an island. But sometimes if we ask, then there's people that are willing to come alongside and do amazing things that would be helpful. Your PTA or PTO groups, they've been a really big supporter of our music program. And I needed a sound system. I went through the first couple of years and we had nothing. I mean, no mics or speakers or anything. And I was like, man, it would be so nice if we had, a little sound system. And they used some of their PTA money and they bought me a really nice, I mean, it's small, but it's a nice little tower and it has 2 microphones and speakers that work for what I need, to do for my program. So, because I always do speaking parts for the kids, and I think a lot of us do that. But you're right. You never know until you ask what somebody else might
Exactly.
be. Yeah, might be
I
willing.
mean, what's the worst they can say? No, I'm sorry, we can't help you with that, you know, but at least you asked. And 9 times out of 10, especially parents, man, they want to be in there.
Right.
They want to be doing for their students. So if you talk to the room mom or the PTO or whatever, usually you're going to find some helpers that way.
Yeah, and I think too, when you're troubleshooting, I know with our programs, we always have issues with getting the kids dismissed, and the parents are all wanting, I mean, like it's chaos, right? And so we keep trying new things. And so I've implemented some strategies, but then my assistant principal, after the concert before last, she said, I was thinking about this, and what if you tried this? And so sometimes if you're, and it worked better. We tried it the next
Mhm.
time. So if you do have that open growth mindset, and that you ask the people around you, I'm having trouble with this aspect, then a lot of times you'll get that help just in brainstorming, or just sitting
Yeah.
down and having a brainstorming session. And you don't have to do it all by yourself, even though it does feel like that,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
for sure. So what else, Jeanette? I know we could talk for hours about all of this, but what is there anything else like really specific or really important that you think that we should share about picture books and the music classroom that I have not asked you?
Um, do them. It is so important to add picture books into the classroom because then you're pulling in all those literacy skills. And honestly, doing a picture book lesson is so much easier because you've already got your format in place, you know? And if you need the help, I am your resource there. I am a really good resource. I love to help. I've got lots and lots of different ways that I can help. The other thing is reading. Reading teachers, classroom teachers, if you bring music into your classroom, your mind is going to be blown at how much more effective the learning is going to be. And my resources are also helpful for that. In fact, my book, this one, Stories That Sing, I designed it specifically so that classroom teachers could use it. It's got a tutorial on how to use all the instruments. It's got a glossary at the end, and there are like, trying to find one. Look at, we've got some worksheets that you could use in your regular classroom. So there are lots and lots of ways to marry the two. Music is, I mean, organically, we use the same words. We use fluency, and we use, I can't think of all the words right now, but we use the same words that reading teachers do. And so it's really just a good way to teach. And you know, that would be my biggest, and if you are a classroom teacher, reach out. I am happy to help, because that's kind of a push for me. I really feel strongly that integrating music into the classroom during your reading time is a great way to, first of all, get beyond the roadblock of students who are like, nope, I don't read. I don't like to read. But also, you add that element of fun in there, and then that's really how you get beyond that roadblock.
Yeah, I have a couple of presentations that I've done with our reading council that talk about that very thing, about how you can, in fact, I did one at our local reading conference years ago that was talking about amazing music and all the 5 ways that you can use music in your regular classroom. I mean, this was before I started teaching music. You know, I was in the regular classroom, but I was, of course, always using music, because that's what we do as people who love music, you know. So many ways that you can integrate music into the regular classroom, and so many ways you can integrate picture books into the music classroom. It really is the perfect marriage.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's been such a great conversation. Well, we are so excited that you have joined us. Viewers as well as Jeanette, it's been such a good conversation. And as I said, I'll link up all the fun things below that Jeanette is doing, and you can dig into those however you want. She is offering a giveaway for this episode. And do you want to talk about that for a quick second?
Sure. Yeah. So you can get 3 free lesson plans. 2 of them are storybook lessons. One is for All Are Welcome, and the other one is for an Eric Carle book. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. And then I have a bouncy ball lesson in there that helps you teach what is it? It's like a music theory where they toss the ball on the whole note, they bounce the ball on the half note, that kind of thing. And you can do that indoors or outdoors. So those are 3 free lesson plans. And then for anyone who is interested, I can give a free month of the Storybook Club. So if you would like to check that out for free for a month, I am happy to do that.
Okay, perfect. And again, we'll link all that below so you can access those things. And thank you again for being here for this episode of PBJamz. Thank you, Jeanette, for being here.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, we've been kind of running circles around each other and talking about how we're doing the same kind of things in different ways. And so we've been wanting to get together for a while. So this was a lovely conversation.
It was.
Yeah. So thanks again, everyone, for being here, and we will see you next time on PBJamz. Bye.
PBJamz, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time.